All right, let's do another. Oh, boy. Okay. Right-wing YouTuber Benny Johnson. Let's do this.
Nancy Pelosi has attacked the president for deploying the National Guard to the city, saying that it is to cover for his incompetence. Hillary Clinton has also attacked the president for securing the city of Washington, D.C. I'd like to get your response, follow-up to that. Given the heroic actions of a member of this administration just a few blocks from this building, will the president consider giving the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Big Balls?
Well, Benny, I have to hand it to you. That didn't disappoint with the insanity of that question. But first off, I mean, Nancy Pelosi is right. The deployment of the National Guard is definitely not about actually lowering the crime rate. That has been going down. It's about changing the subject. It's about normalizing military in the streets. It's about a lot of things. As for big balls, which I can't believe we have to say on a TV show, but here we are in 2025. I mean, what happened to him was horrible, and I wish him a speedy recovery. Everybody should. But the people who typically receive the Medal of Freedom have decades of public service or storied careers under their belts. They aren't a 19-year-old software engineer. So I don't see how he would make the nomination list. But then again, this is a Donald Trump presidency, so who knows?
Benny is absolutely crushing it. He says, guys, this is not a drill. Jen Psaki just had a total meltdown live on air at MSNBC over my questions during the White House press briefing. Circle back, Psaki was very angry that she had to say the name Big Balls. Say his name. This is why we do it. Yeah, Benny is absolutely crushing it. On fire here, folks. 3.8 million followers on X. I don't even remember how many subscribers he has on YouTube, but he is literally going to the moon. Speaking of which, I just realized today, Tesla is up again, folks. Just further adding to compounding on the wealth building strategies and principles that we employ every single day here. Tesla stock rises for fifth straight day as Elon Musk threatens legal action against Apple, rightly so. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we are literally watching history in the making here. And I've got more that I want to share with you, especially about the arrest. Okay. This happened in DC. Okay. And some of you may have heard about it. Some of you may not have, but I promise you, if you stick with me here, you will know by the time we're done with this video. I do want to thank Chapter, our friends over at Chapter, because they are excellent. They are fantastic. And if you are interested in saving money, specifically on your Medicare, then make sure you give our friends at Chapter a call. And I want you guys to really, really pay attention here, because it's come to my attention that most seniors are not on the best Medicare plan. They're either overpaying for the same coverage they could get elsewhere, or they don't have the coverage they need in an emergency. Chapter can review your options in under 20 minutes. It's fast, it's simple, it's easy, and it's free. If you're already on the best possible plan, they'll tell you they're unbiased and they're purely here to help folks, seniors, save money on healthcare, on average $1,100. And if you're not on the right plan, they'll help you switch, even if it's to a plan that pays them nothing. Again, unbiased, folks. This is unique and unlike any other Medicare provider out there. And this is exactly why we love Chapter so much, because they're literally just trying to help people. Chapter works for you, not big insurance or the government. And there's no pressure, just honest, free advice from professionals who know Medicare inside and out.
So President Trump putting Putin on notice ahead of tomorrow's high-stakes summit if he does not agree to end the war in Ukraine once and for all.
Will Russia face any consequences if Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday?
Yes, they will. Yeah.
What will the consequences
there will be
be?
consequences.
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences.
The president agreeing to red lines in tomorrow's talks and is already eyeing a second meeting with Zelensky in attendance.
So White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, who's making the trip up to Alaska, joins us now. Caroline, when the president, great to see you. When the president says there'll be consequences, if there isn't enough progress, roughly, how would you characterize progress to avoid consequences?
Well, first of all, Brian, and great to be with you too, let's take a step back and look at the progress that has been made over the course of the last 7 months, thanks to President Trump's leadership. He inherited this brutal war that has killed millions of people in both Russia and Ukraine from his predecessor, Joe Biden. And thanks to President Trump's determination to bring this war to an end, both Russia and Ukraine have engaged in direct diplomatic discussions. They have exchanged prisoners of war and discussed other humanitarian issues. And you've seen the president engage directly with both leaders as well, over the phone numerous times with President Putin and in person several times with President Zelensky. The Russian president requested this meeting with the president tomorrow, and the president wants to exhaust all options to try to bring this war to a peaceful resolution. So tomorrow, bright and early, he will be departing the White House for our joint military base in Anchorage, Alaska, where he will engage in a one-on-one meeting with President Putin, which will be followed by a bilateral lunch with the respective delegations from both countries, and then a press conference. And so what comes after that meeting is up to President Trump, and that's part of the reason he is going. He has incredible instincts, and he wants to sit down and look the Russian president in the eye and see what progress can be made to move the ball forward to end this brutal war and to restore peace.
I think if anybody can do it, it's Trump. If there's anybody who can, it's Trump. If there's anybody who will, it's Trump.
You know, Caroline, he secured that trade deal with Europe to buy energy from America and not from Russia. He slapped a 50% tariff on India because they were buying oil from Russia. He sent weapons to Ukraine. He's doing all this to try to get Putin to end this war. What could be the next step? I know that the president didn't give us examples, but what could be the next step to make them, to really squeeze them so that they lose even more money and they have no choice?
Well, Ainsley, I think one of the best things about President Trump's negotiating style is that he's very wise about not broadcasting moves he may or may not make in the future. And certainly the president has plenty of tools at his disposal that he could use if necessary. But he has always said that diplomacy and negotiation is his primary way of hoping to end this war. And so that's what he'll be looking to do tomorrow. But certainly there are sanctions and many other measures that the president could utilize.
Real winners move in silence. They don't tell people what they're going to do. They just do it. And then when they're done, they'll show you what they have accomplished. And, you know, this is no different, especially with high stakes negotiations like what's about to go down tomorrow with Putin. And so, yeah, you know, the media, they have to make their attempt to try to get the scoop, to try to get the exclusive, to try to get that breaking news that's going to allow their broadcast to go viral. But President Trump's this isn't his first rodeo, nor is it Caroline Levitt. So we'll just have to wait and see.
If he has to, not that he wants to, he's willing to. But again, diplomacy and negotiation has always been the way for this president, and that's part of his acceptance of the Russian president's request to have this meeting in person tomorrow.
So, Caroline, let's talk about some of the chatter. And that is some of the people in liberal media and liberal circles, people that the president fired, said that the president is going to be embarrassed by Putin. Speak to that. What does the president walk out of a meeting? We know who he is. I'm sure he's not going to tolerate disrespect from Putin, even though he wants peace, right?
Well, Lawrence, you're being very kind, and I won't be so kind, and I'll just name some of those people, such as John Bolton, who I think has made a disgrace of himself on television and in the newspapers, claiming that he knows better than President Trump. No, he doesn't, and neither do any of these so-called foreign policy experts who have never solved a foreign policy conflict in their lives. Look at what this president has done in 6 months. He has stopped 7 global conflicts all around the world using the leverage of the United States of America to negotiate these conflicts to an end. You had the leaders of Azerbaijan and Armenia at the White House last week, both of whom said this would not have been possible without the leadership of President Trump and his administration. So
I like Caroline Levitt's just brutal honesty here. And she's like, you know, you're being so kind, but I'm not. And she's going to name names. And granted, you guys probably have seen some of these instances here so recently, just on the last few videos I've posted, and just reading through the comments of people who think they know better than others who are actually doing the thing that they have never done, yet they somehow manage to have their own opinions on the matter. Sit down. Shut up.
The American people trust this president. That's why they overwhelmingly reelected him. And I think it's pathetic, some of the chatter that we see from these so-called experts who have zero accomplishments on their own resumes to point to. President Trump knows what he's doing. He has great instincts. This is a highly complex and brutal war that, again, inherited by Joe Biden. Russia did not invade Ukraine under President Trump. They invaded under Joe Biden because of his incompetence and his weakness. And this president is trying to solve it and bring it to an end. And he deserves great credit for that.
I want to talk about the surge in National Guard and federal officers into D.C. But before we go, just a housekeeping thing. Did you say they're going to meet and then afterwards there'll be a press conference? And if so, will this be a joint press conference where both sides get to ask Vladimir Putin and President Trump a question?
Yes, that is the plan.
Wow. OK, just moving on to the national, what you guys have done in Washington, D.C. Would these 100 arrests have happened with just the D.C. police and Park Police? Was there something about the president's surge that brought those arrests?
Absolutely. This is a multi-agency task force that is put forward by the president, the attorney general, our secretary of defense. There are 19 agencies that were working together across 7 districts last night. And I have some updated statistics for you. Overnight, there were 45 criminal arrests made for assault, second and first degree. There were arrests made for the distribution of illegal drugs and narcotics that have now been removed off of the streets. There were 3 illegal firearms that were seized. And in addition to that, there were 29 illegal aliens who were removed off of Washington, D.C. streets last night, many of whom had final orders of removal. So these results are happening night after night because of the efforts of this federal task force that are working alongside the Metropolitan Police Department, who agree with this effort. In fact, the Metropolitan Police Department union stated that President Trump is right to do this, that crime has been totally out of control in the city. And the residents of Washington, maybe not the journalists because they don't want to admit President Trump is right, who live here, but the residents agree. According to a Washington Post poll, 65% of D.C. residents say that crime is a very serious problem in the District of Columbia.
And speaking of removal, another win, another dollar in the Donald Trump is right jar. Jasmine Crockett apparently is about to be removed from Congress after the redrawn maps in Texas. Another Trump win, a Greg Abbott win, a constitutional win, really, if you think about the way that the Democrats behaved, fleeing Texas and running to Chicago or Illinois. So, yeah, we need to celebrate all the wins that, that are happening. And I think much deserved and right on time.
And while Democrats want to rant and rave and coddle criminals, President Trump wants to put them behind bars. And that's what this task force is focused on doing for the next 28 days.
Caroline, I know that the president can do this for 30 days if he notifies the right committees in Congress, which he did. There were some stories. The Democrats were spreading the narrative. We don't need the National Guard in there because crime has gone down around 30%, 26%, I think, this past year, and 35% the year before that. And then we heard those numbers might be inaccurate. They might be false. And some people were let go or they were suspended, right, Brian, from their jobs because of it. Can you clear that up for us? Are those numbers correct?
Yeah, these numbers are absolutely correct, and we will continue to provide the American public and the press with the numbers because we're proud of these efforts. If the Democrats had their way, there would be hundreds more criminals roaming free in the streets of the District of Columbia right now. There would be hundreds of more illegal aliens who this task force has already detained and arrested, and now they are focused on deporting from our country. Those individuals would remain in the District of Columbia where they would have been free to do more harm. And that's not counting all of the would-be criminals that may have committed violent crimes and maybe taken the lives of law-abiding residents of this city, if not for the deterrence. There is a huge law enforcement presence here in our nation's capital. Just drive through the streets and you will see it, and that helps to deter crime. We saw this decades ago in New York City when it was once a safe city. The president is implementing those same law and order strategies that work. History is on our side with this, and we know the people are on our side with this, so we're going to continue to enforce our nation's laws.
Yeah, Governor Hochul put the National Guard into the subways. No one really objected to that here. Thanks so much, Caroline.
Thanks, Caroline. Appreciate it.
Thanks, that's an example when a press secretary is briefed by the president. They talk. We watched the press secretary not have anything to say for 4 years. By the way, I'm going to talk to the president at 10 o'clock on radio.
That's great.
Before Alaska.
Make some news there.
All right, put it into the double standard. And this is what's right. And more importantly, this is what's actually happening right now. Guys, make sure that you check out the links down below. Give Chapter a call. Find out how much money you could save on your Medicare. The number is 270-467-2426. It's been on the screen the entire time. There's no way you could have possibly missed it. As well as join me over on Patreon for more. And the school community is available as well.